talk!
Oh.
Hey! Stop! What?
Here we go. Those are nice pants. Hey, welcome back to Life Lessons in Film.
Hi.
Today we're going to be making sense of life through Joker.
Mm-hmm.
It follows the Joker, Arthur Fleck. It starts off with him working one of those sign twirling jobs. Things just go from worse to worse. He gets beat up. He's ignored his entire life. He goes to this government-run therapy where he's ignored there. He's ignored by his mother. It's a very depressing life for him. Eventually, he snaps and
becomes the Joker.
Yeah, it's an origin story.
So it's an origin story.
One of my favorite origin stories. There's a lot of stuff in it for me, but I don't know, you took notes. I took notes too. I had to take notes this time. Sometimes I don't take notes, but this one was calling for notes. The juice that you can squeeze from this movie. You have Arthur and his mother, and they're always watching TV together where there's these talk shows and there's these fake laughs and applauding by the audience. It's all put on. It's all a show. And so they're glued to this TV, which is this kind of illusion that they can lose themselves in when all around them, their actual reality is just chaos and struggle and sadness and not a good time.
Yeah, this movie definitely is a rough one. I can understand why it was so controversial, especially in the US with all of, the gun violence and everything. You can think, well, this movie is actually valorizing violence, looking at the trajectory of this guy's life. He's this downtrodden guy who no one cares about, and all of a sudden he becomes the Joker.
Right.
For me, when I was looking at this movie, I wasn't thinking that way. I was feeling more like this spoke to the realities of how all of us can, in our own individual ways, contribute to someone who eventually becomes the Joker, contributes to someone who could perpetuate that kind of violence to other people. It made me reflect on that, like my behavior towards other people or the lack of behavior towards other people. When you think about it, right? Like, how did this guy become the Joker? Number one, the parents. The mom has narcissistic personality disorder. We discover this when Arthur goes and gets his file from that asylum. And then we discover all of the things that she did to him while he was a kid.
Penny, your son was found tied to a radiator in your filthy apartment, malnourished with multiple bruises across his body and severe trauma to his head.
I never heard him crying. He's always been such a happy little boy.
The state even says that this woman was a danger to the child, and yet the state continues to allow this woman to take care of the child. That's the beginning.
It was the failure of a lot of people.
A failure of a lot of people
in so many different ways. I think for me, I really don't see the movie as glamorizing or valorizing anything like that. Violence or chaos or just like throwing out morality or anything like that. I see it as kind of shining a light on all the mental illness and all the people being ignored and dismissed or not wanting to be understood by society. I don't want to know. I don't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. I'd rather not know about the underbelly of society.
All of the things that the lower class struggles with, how we contribute to that, to aggravating it even more to the point of it boils over and then we have a Joker. Outside of the parents, society in itself is broken. Now it is material wealth over community. And the whole logic of community is that you come together, it brings people together towards a common cause, including supporting each other to the extent of evading certain threats. A threat could be your neighbor is torturing your kid next door. And as a society, all of you, because you're a community that understands that you're supporting each other, you are not going to allow that to happen on your watch. If you look at collectivist societies right now, they still have that whole children are raised by villages, right? And that means if your mom or your dad is dropping the ball, there will always hopefully be someone who kind of comes and subsidizes the parenting that your mom or dad doesn't afford you, that you deserve. I remember the Wolf Pack, for example. That happened for years. These kids, the dad had them locked up in their apartment their whole lives. And this is an apartment building. There are so many people, thousands of people are living in this building. And yet this guy manages to get away with imprisoning his kids. These things are happening so regularly all the time because society is broken.
It's a very unnatural way for humans to live.
Exactly. And even Arthur in the movie says people aren't civil to each other anymore.
Everybody just yells and screams at each other. Nobody's civil anymore. Nobody thinks what it's like to be the other guy.
I've heard people talk about this movie saying, I don't know what it was meaning to say. For me, I feel like it was not, let's encourage disorder and just ransacking everything and the destruction. To me, it was, let's take a look at the people that are really invisible to society, because things like this could happen.
Yeah.
You know, when violence becomes your only other option to finally be seen or heard. So our SD card went a little funky dunky, and this we lost a bunch of. We thought it was recording and it wasn't, so we're doing it again.
In case you noticed that we are heartbroken.
Yes.
Dejected.
Yes. And forlorn.
Forlorn.
Yes. I'm a little forlorn.
So regarding our society's hyper-focus on the economy over community, neoliberal societies are like that, right? Well, their view is that human well-being will be best served by cultivating individual entrepreneurial skills to serve the economy. Think of students, for example. Kids are developed into little consumers who will then act in certain ways, move through certain hoops that will finally allow them to be able to be perfect, just the right consumer that we need to grow our economies. And then they go through certain standardized tests, right? To make sure that you know how to act, which jobs you should pursue, what you should do when you're maybe going to university, what you should study, and what journey to take, basically, to serve the economy, not your community, not yourself. Even as an adult, there are all of these milestones that you have to reach, right? For example, you have to work in order for us to see you as a valuable contributor to society. And so, okay, do you have a job? All right, okay, then we can sit down and have a conversation. I can respect you. But there's also the matter of what we do. There's that hierarchy as well, right? Like if you have a job, great. But if you have a job at Wayne Enterprises, even better, you get 2 points instead of just 1. But then if you're a teacher, administrative clerk, or a bank teller, or a sign holder like the Joker, you only get 1 point for the job. And what we're saying in these societies is that human beings are not inherently valuable. Yeah. You're only valuable if you check off all of these milestones that we need you to in order to serve what is the most important thing, our economy. And so if you're not doing that, you can die. You're disposable.
Oh, why is everybody so upset about these guys? If it was me dying on the sidewalk, you'd walk right over me. I pass you every day and you don't notice me. But these guys, what, because Thomas Wayne went and cried about them on TV?
They do try to make the Joker a sympathetic character, which makes people uncomfortable, partly because there's that inner turmoil of like, well, this person's starting to become a really bad person, but they're trying to shine it in a way that still wants us to think about why, you know? And I think a lot of people would rather just, you know, believe that people that commit murders or that become the kind of person the Joker becomes, I don't want to think about why, what we as a society are doing to contribute to that. It's just not a comfortable discussion.
It's also uncomfortable because of how empathetic you find yourself being with this guy. I think even if you aren't a murderer or don't act out like he does, or at least pursue power like he does, or independence. Yeah. If you
more
don't,
like agency. Of personal freedom.
Yeah.
I think.
So if you don't pursue that agency or personal freedom like he does, you may do it in another way where you're not harming other people. The point is, there's a reason you're doing it. You've gone through these hardships and life sucks, you know? He says, like, I don't want to hurt anymore.
Arthur, you're on 7 different medications. Surely they must be doing something.
I just don't want to feel so bad anymore.
A lot of people can relate to that. There are so many little hurts that are inflicted upon us every single day because of what we're living, the kind of societies that we're living in, right? If you're a janitor, for example, people don't even care about you. They don't take you seriously. Watching this movie is also uncomfortable for the fact of how relatable this guy is. We all have experiences where we felt unseen or weak or less than in some way. And we wanted to resolve that and find just that comfort in our lives, right? And so then you find a way, because it's not fun to live in discomfort. It's not fun to live in pain. And so you find a way out you're not going to become the Joker. There are other healthier, better ways where you're not harming other people to do it. But the point is, we can relate to this guy, and sometimes we are super empathetic to him. This guy's trying his best. He's taking care of his mom. He's always trying to be so kind at work to people. And yet his colleagues, as well as his boss, they just find him weird no matter what he does. And this is attributed to like his challenges with socializing, attributed to his mental health, which no one takes seriously, despite the fact that he informs them. He has the card in the bus that women, stop bothering my kid, who is giggling,
who was
by
not
the
being
way,
bothered.
who's not being bothered. And then Arthur gives the card, and she's like, doesn't care. She's even more annoyed. If you feel like you're doing all of the right things, I'm working, I wake up every single day, I go to work, and I make my own little contribution to the world. It may not be CEO style contribution, but it's still a contribution. That's what I'm supposed to do, right? And yet you are still seen as a nothing. I don't think that your tough background, anyone's tough background, absolves them of causing harm to people. Even if you aren't murdering, even if you're just that bully who says mean things to people. Just because you also were bullied as a kid does not absolve you of the harms you cause to people. That's just that. We can't excuse it. I believe that. And so even with Arthur, as much as, yes, we are sympathetic to his experience growing up and we feel really sad and we can relate to him, which is extremely uncomfortable, it still does not justify what he does. At the end of the day, we're all trying to get out of things. We're all trying to find a way out. Some people have better tools than other people. Arthur didn't have the greatest tools whatsoever. He was already screwed from the moment he was born with the mother he has. And also because of his mental state, he wouldn't really have had the ending that would all hope for him. Sometimes people have this thing where they're like, well, I also went through ABC, so why didn't I become a murderer? I didn't become a murderer. I figured it out. I became a huge entrepreneur. But you never really look at what resources did you have over the other person.
One time he said, all I have are bad thoughts. And another time he said, he's like, I've never been happy. Like there's never been once in my life that I've felt that. And so on top of, him having no confidence, no good social skills because of how he grew up and everything, and people immediately judging him, so he can't even develop that trust or that ability to know how to connect properly with people. So you throw that in, and then you add just him being so sad all the time. Like, has anyone who has ever just been so depressed remember what it's like to try and be happy for other people? So I think that whole thing where he's always pushing up to like force a smile, I think that's, for me, that also kind of makes me think of just, people don't like to see other people sad. They're like, either take a pill to make yourself feel better, or whether it's just medication or it's like, oh, well, do something to treat yourself. Have a nice soothing bath, watch something funny, all this kind of stuff. Do whatever you can to avoid those feelings of sadness.
It's too uncomfortable for me.
It's too uncomfortable for me. I don't want to see that because maybe that'll remind me that I actually am sad as well. Or it's just like, I want to believe that society is actually happy and that there isn't so much sadness and decay and destruction and stuff that's messed up. I don't want to think about that.
When you're in the lower class, there's a lot of pressure for you to serve the comfort of people in the upper class. Don't go on strike. Be civil. Sit up straight. If you have an issue, air it.
In like a polite, articulate, patient.
Yes. And I'm like, but how do you do that when no one is listening? When people see you, they just engage you with complete apathy. Never any kind of, I'm going to give you patience, I'm going to give you time, because you are just a sign holder. How do you politely say, hey, could my needs be served in the society? Could I also get a little tiny, just a sliver of the comfort that you enjoy if no one cares, if no one's listening? And also if your entire environment is so hard. Look at how Arthur lives with his mom. She's still struggling with mental illness. He has to deal with that. He's also struggling with mental illness. He can't afford to pay for his own pills or his own bills for seeing therapy, and depends on the state, who later defunds this program, but still expects that he toes the line and goes to work, despite the fact that now he can't toe the line and go to work because he doesn't have the pills anymore that will help him maintain some lucidity, right? So then how am I supposed to be civil and good and like, a trooper here, like you're asking me to do, if you're not helping, you're not even throwing just like the tiniest bone.
The city has cut funding across the board. Social services is part of that. This is the last time we'll be meeting.
Okay.
Most people really want to be decent and not have to commit murder, basically. So when someone gets to that point, there are reasons. It's been years of no other options and pressure from outside and inside. If you, have the leisure time and you don't have the 4 jobs that you need to get to one after another, then yeah, you can be civil.
Oh, what else was I thinking about?
So society not only breeds addiction and mental illness, but it also profits from it. Not only does it keep people from being able to feel better about themselves and want more for themselves and want to come together, but also you make money. You know, it keeps people consuming. So society benefits a lot from addiction and mental illness, but then you create these conditions for people and you make these people into that kind of person. And then at the same time, you shame and shun people. Yeah, you judge people for being addicts and having mental illness. So it's that cycle of you created it and now you are upset that it's a thing. Modern society is all about looking towards constantly finding solutions to problems it creates.
Yeah.
After the Joker kills the one ex-coworker when they come over, for him to basically want the Joker to cover his butt in case the cops start asking, you know, he's like, let's get our stories straight. And he kills him because that guy was always backstabbing the Joker. He lets the other guy go. He's like, you're the only person that was ever nice to me.
It's okay, Gary. You can go. I'm not gonna hurt you. Don't look. Just go.
So that also shows that it's like the Joker still feels in his mind still a sense of morality of the people that deserve to be killed and the people that don't. The guy that his mom idolized on the TV was actually someone that would just mock and bully the Joker. So he also feels like he deserves it, right? So in his own vigilante justice way, he feels like, you know, I know what's right and wrong in terms of what people should deserve. Also, when you are born into situations of depravity and desperation and lack, you're around other people that are in that situation. So your worldview is shaped by, oh, everyone in the world will backstab you, cheat you, lie to you. And when you're in that situation, it's very hard to get out because you never even really learned what it is to trust or to have anyone in your life that you know you can recognize, oh, this is actually genuine. They actually care. Everyone is gaslighting you, manipulating you, wanting something from you without actually respecting you or wanting to, you know, or support you.
Exactly. Or indebting them to you. I mean, indebting you to them.
Yeah.
When this guy gives him the gun.
It's for you. You gotta protect yourself out there. Otherwise, you're gonna get fucked.
Randall. I'm not supposed to have a gun.
Don't sweat it, Art. No one has to know. And you can pay me back some other time. You know you're my boy.
Why does it always have to be that? Why can't you just give for the sake of giving? Why do relationships have to be so transactional? And why do you have to manipulate someone to giving you something? Because if you say, well, you can pay me back, you're really just, what you're doing is manipulating or forcing them into helping you. You're not giving the person to be good, really out of sincerity.
Yeah. When your worldview is that, and you never actually experience people that are just altruistic and genuine and compassionate, then that's how you start to treat people in return. So you're shaped by that. So that also makes it hard to break yourself out of that toxic cycle. I think humans weren't meant to live in such inequality. Very, very wealthy, powerful people also suffer. They're alienated from basically everyone else. They know everyone else is out to get them, wants their position, is envious, wants them to fall from grace. You're going to be very paranoid, very lonely. It's not a place that humans thrive in mentally. And same thing when you're at the very bottom. Also, lack of community, lack of connection to everything, lack of self-esteem. It's not good. It's not healthy for people. One last thing, more of a speculative thing, is when I first watched the movie, I thought that when his mother spills the beans that he was the son of Thomas Wayne. I thought, oh, okay. And then, when Thomas Wayne, wants to cover that up because it would look bad for his image, he gets this mentally ill woman to sign his papers of basically, you can't share this with anyone. But now watching it again, and then he finds out that she was psychotic and narcissistic and whatever else, I wonder if that wasn't true. Now I'm thinking maybe because she worked for Thomas Wayne, but just had a lot of mental illness, wanted to believe the story because that was her way of feeling like that was her hope, was like, well, if I believe that he was the father of my child, then maybe he'll bring me out of this Joker at some point.
What do you think he's gonna do?
He's gonna help us.
But you worked for him, 30 years ago? Why would he help us?
Because Thomas Wayne is a good man. If he knew how we were living, if he saw this place, it would make him sick. I can't explain it to you any better than that.
Yeah, it's like magical thinking, right? When you're in a bad situation, there's a dream you have all the time that you entertain that, you imagine yourself in a certain position.
Yeah.
Maybe Thomas Wayne comes and saves me from this decrepit existence.
Yeah.
And I'm all of a sudden a rich woman.
And in a more secular society, I think you have to replace God with those kind of things. That wealthy entrepreneur will save me. I want to believe that I am his child. You know, you just got to replace God with Thomas Wayne or any other kind of celebrity or government or whatever.
Yeah, someone else save me.
Yeah, because you're beyond all hope with anything else working out.
Exactly. And you don't have any faith in yourself.
Yeah.
Because first of all, no one is telling you that you're valuable enough to deserve to even have faith in yourself. His own mother says, well, you know, I thought people who want to be comedians are supposed to be funny. Zero confidence, right, in her son. Yeah. And so then how can you, if your parents don't have any confidence in you, how can you then have confidence in yourself? You can't. And so you look to other people. You look to Murray.
Murray, yeah.
You look to people like Murray and you start imagining you're on the show and he absolutely adores you and you don't have the laughing fist that you have. These are all things that we do to kind of imagine ourselves out of the discomfort and the sorrow of our lives. You imagine something that makes you feel good, and for a moment you're happy. For that one moment when you're daydreaming about something, a life that isn't yours but a life that you dream of, for that one moment you're happy. So I think that was the thing with the mom. A huge theme here is mental illness in this movie. At the end, you realize that parts of the story didn't happen. Like with the woman in his apartment. Yeah. She was never there. Yeah. She didn't go watch him.
She was nice to him one time, goofing around with him, and then after that he creates the story that they become a couple together and that she's supporting him and with him there.
Yeah, and supports the fact that the clown killed those 3 guys. That's all in his mind. I know for a while there I thought this was actually happening.
Yeah, me too.
I think the guy that did it is a hero.
It reminding you again about people's mental health challenges, right? Because in the movie he says people expect people with mental illness to act like people who don't struggle with mental illness. And it's true. Don't be screaming in public. My God.
Yeah.
I want peace. I want my peace.
Just be sedated and numb like the rest of us.
Yeah. And in the end, you're no one. No one ever sees you, which is why then him getting to a point of killing and him seeing the attention that he's getting, finally being seen.
Yeah, the same way that, you know, we never see the work and struggle that brings someone success. You know, you only see the person once they become famous. You don't see all the stuff they went through before that. You also don't see all the struggle and pain and suffering and chaos in someone's life before they do an act of write a manifesto and then they go on a spree or they do something horrible or destructive. You don't see all the stuff that builds up to that. So you only ever see when they make the news.
Moral of the story, we need to regroup. What kind of norms and rules are we creating for our societies when things like this can happen? How are we contributing? How are you contributing every day to someone like the Joker? How am I contributing to someone like the Joker? Also, no, it's not kill if you're downtrodden.
Yeah,
that's definitely not the moral of the story.
No.
That will never be good.
No.
And you are not good if you decide to kill other people, no matter what happened to you. No. So let's just pin that. NB. It is not that.
But yeah, that was some stuff that we thought about Joker. But what did you guys think? You know, do you have other stuff that you got from Joker? Do you agree, disagree with what we had to say about it? Let us know in the comments down below. Share your thoughts on our thoughts. Yeah. Until next time. Thanks for watching. That's a wrap.
Hey, Arthur. Arthur, can you get a look?
Sorry, can I?